Pawan, the profile slides.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So let me welcome you to this 75th edition. We can call it the Diamond Jubilee edition, and we have the diamond of our psychiatry as a presenter today. Welcome, E. Mohandas, sir. Next slide, please. Let me hand over the session to Professor Dr. Tufan Pati, sir. Everyone knows him well. Sir, I'm skipping your introduction. Please return the favor. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Alim. This is a proud privilege. I must speak a few words, inviting everyone and welcoming everyone to the 75th edition of Thursday Musings. We have just a quarter before we reach the 100th edition, that is the centenary edition. Just a quarter of that. And this has been possible because of the dedicated Thursday Musing team and the jewels of Indian psychiatry who have cooperated with us and been our faculties all throughout the 75 editions. My compliments and regards to all of them through the viewers, and we will be writing to them directly also. So our moderators, Dr. Alim Siddiqui and Dr. Amrit Patujoshi, both Professor of Psychiatry in Amrit is in High-Tech Medical College and Alim is in Lucknow, Eras Medical College, and both are IPS Executive Committee members, now are ex-members, and they are the vibrant moderators and the vibrant anchors for this program all throughout. And now I have the privilege to introduce our esteemed chairpersons. Our chairperson is none other than the IPS president, dear, lovable, always smiling Dr. Gautam Shah, who is director of Clinic Brain Neuropsychiatric Institute and Research Center, Barasat, president of IPS, vice president of SARC Federation of Psychiatrists, vice president come president-elect of Indian Association of Geriatric Mental Health, and editor of Indian Association of Private Psychiatry. Welcome, Dr. Gautam. And our other chairperson is Dr. N.N. Raju, is president-elect come vice president of IPS, professor of psychiatry of Andhra Medical College, Visakhapatnam. I had just a telephonic call with him. He is going for the office bearers meeting to be held at Vizag, and he will be joining sometime later and given us his kind permission to proceed on with the meeting. With this, I hand over the meeting to the chairperson, Dr. Gautam Shah, to introduce the topic as well as the speaker. Dr. Gautam Shah, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Tufan Poti. And definitely congratulations to the team, Thursday Musing, led by Dr. Tufan Poti, my two younger brother, Dr. Amrit and Dr. Alim. All three people are really create a history. In fact, this is the 75th. I am really feel honored to be here, to be a part of this team, one of the most active member, I think. I attended most of the program organized by this Thursday Music team. And it is one of the best webinar series, what we have finished, what we have seen in our fraternity. Definitely others are there. In fact, another one is none other than led by today's speaker, Dr. E. Mohandas. That is also very nice. But I'm really happy that we are a part of the team. Ultimately, all the webinars contribute something. From there, we can learn lots of things, lots of subjects, lots of problems when what to do. And in fact, today is the speaker and none other than, again, I am telling Dr. Professor E. Mohandas. I think he does not need any introduction. As you know that he is the past president of Indian Psychiatric Society. He is the guru of all gurus in psychiatric fraternity. He is the past president of Indian Association of Private Psychiatry, Biological Psychiatry, all the, in fact, what not. And there are lots of awards in his pocket, and also there are lots of feathers in his crown. So I don't want to waste time because all of us know who is Dr. E. Mohandas. And today's topic also very interesting. I mean, very funny. Anopheles mosquito and the magic bullet. Even it is a mystery also that we don't understand what sir will say today. But as it is magic bullets are mentioned, I think sir is always used to speak on neurobiology and the psychopharmacology. But I think my guess is he will talk definitely something regarding psychopharmacology. Let's it be a surprise. We should listen till the end, and after that we understand what sir will deliver today. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor E. Mohandas, my guru and guru of all psychiatrists. Thank you, sir. Now, stage is yours, sir.
Can I share my slides?
Yes, please.
Can you see the slides?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Very well, fine. As respected organizers, my friends, Tufan, Alim, and Ahmed, and the chairperson, Dr. Gautam Saha, and Yannan Raju in his absentia, and my dear friends. And I heard a comment that is funny and intriguing topic. Yeah, I will be speaking on this small creature. This one, small creature. Anopheles and the magic bullet in psychiatry. I want to just tell my junior colleagues, this will be a presentation where how you have to start your presentation. Suppose you get a topic, you have to think little bit out of the box, then try to connect it. So storytelling is the most powerful way to put ideas into the world. So I have to tell a story. Story, his story, or her story, or its story. When we talk about his story or her story or its story, it becomes history. So history is not a burden on the memory, but an illumination of the soul. So I will try to see whether I can illuminate your soul. The more you know about the past, the better prepared you are for the future. You know, Roosevelt, the previous American president. Now let us start the story. The story begins. Listen to the story well. She came beside me, touched me, scratched softly, played music in my ears. She pricked me. I was excited. I wanted to embrace her strong. Then it happened. I woke up. I am a killer. That was a mosquito. I was sleeping and the mosquito came beside me, touched me, scratched softly, played music in my ears, pricked me, and I was excited in my dreams. I wanted to embrace, but I had to shrug hardly. Then the mosquito was killed. So I am a killer. I will take a quote from Dick Emmons. Although I travel incognito, I cannot deceive the smart mosquito. While others also have corpuscles, mine are the ones toward which she hustles. My blood is thin and I have asthma. She doesn't care, but she wants my plasma. Mosquitoes seem to love the wind of me, the front, the sides, and the behind of me. I have tried to think why they are so smitten. And as I think, once more I am bitten. What is Anopheles? It's a Spanish word meaning little fly. So Anopheles belong to the Curcidae family. Around 3,500 species grouped into 41 genera. 460 Anopheles species, 30 to 40 transmit malaria. What is the meaning of Anopheles etymologically? And meaning not, Opheles meaning profit. So it is of no profit. That's how the word has come. Well, usually, the Anopheles mosquito produce malaria, bad air. Previously, people thought it was attributed to the Nergal, the Babylonian god of destruction and pestilence. But the Philistine god, you know what is Philistine? Palestine, Philistine, God Beelzebub thought that it is the prince of devils. The first evidence of malaria parasites may be during the Paleogene period, almost 30 million years ago. Earliest written report of malaria, Huangdi Nanjing, Inner Canon of Huangdi, or Yellow Emperor's Inner Canon. This is the canon. That is the first description. Even Charaka Samhita and Sushruta Samhita has described about it. Charaka Samhita classifies fevers into 5 categories: continuous fevers, remittent fevers, quotidian fevers, tertian fevers, and quartan fevers. Sushruta Samhita associated fevers with the bites of the insects. The father of medicine, Hippocrates, described the disease in a medical text in 4th or 5th century BC. Alexander the Great may have died of malaria infection at the age of 30. Some people believe malaria, the word, was first used by Italian physician Francisco Torti, caused by the foul air in Marche districts. However, that is wrong. He never used the term in his writings. It was used mainly in folk medicine in Italy and appears even earlier in the writings of Florence Leonardo Bruni around 1476. But Torti's major work was Therapeutic Specialis et Febris Quastum Perniciosus. My pronunciation may not be correct. Torti was the first to demonstrate the effectiveness of cinchona bark in the treatment of malaria. That is important. Cinchona bark. So what is cinchona? This is the cinchona tree. This is the bark. Cinchona is a genus of 38 species. It is usually seen in eastern slopes of Andes, mainly in Bolivia, Ecuador, and Peru, most important Peru. This is the bark. You see this picture. Cinchona tree is first mentioned in a religious chronicle published in Lima in 1633. The Quechua healers thought that this bark has got medicinal properties. So they called it fever bark or Jesuit's bark. Peru offers a branch of Cinchona to science from a 17th century engraving. This is an engraving. Cinchona, the source of Peruvian bark, is an early remedy against malaria. Pietro Castelli, the first Italian publication to mention Cinchona. In 1677, the use of the bark was noted in London Pharmacopoeia. In 1742, Linnaeus named the tree Quinquina Condamine, but later he put as Cinchona officinalis as a separate species. There is a reason behind it, why he put the name Cinchona official. That is the first European ever to be cured from malaria fever was the Countess of Cinchon, Ana de Osorio. That is why this Cinchona, the name was given by Linnaeus. Ana de Osorio was the wife of a Spanish Luis Jeronimo de Cabrera. He was the fourth Count of Chinchon, the Viceroy of Peru. He was the Viceroy of Peru. And he had fever, and the local people gave the fever bark to cure it. And later on, that tree was named as Cinchona tree. Pierre Joseph Pelertier and Josephine Cavendish, these both people, extracted the alkaloids cinchonin and quinine in 1820. In 1853, the story starts here now. A 15-year-old youth, this gentleman, when he was 15-year-old, William Henry Perkin, joined Royal College of Chemistry, London, now it is called Imperial College, and started working under the German chemist August Wilhelm von Hofmann. Now, the porter, when Hofmann was away, Hofmann told this boy to study on malaria, the treatment of malaria. And during that process, Porter distilling coal tars in an effort to produce quinine in his crude laboratory in Perkin Garden, Perkin accidentally produced an organic chemical that stained clothes, that was aniline purple, later to be called morphine, the first synthetic dye. Because of this synthetic dye, you have different colored shirts, different colored baskets, different colored things. That is the first synthetic dye. And what he did, he left the Royal College of Pharmacy. He studied with his friend Arthur Church and his brother Thomas. Three of them did work on it. And at the age of 18, he filed for a patent for the synthetic dye, and he became a billionaire or multi-billionaire. And he forgot about all the research on everything. Same way around, in 1876, Henry Canro, this gentleman, working at the Badish aniline and soda fabric, this is that time company in Germany synthesized an aniline-derived dye for textiles from para-amino dimethyl aniline, that's called methylene blue. Auguste Bertheusen in 1883 identified it as thiodiphenylamine. So aniline dye was started and methylene blue. Paul Goodman and Paul Ehrlich suggested the therapeutic role of methylene blue in malaria. You would have seen some 8 years back, methylene blue also was suggested for Alzheimer's. That was a rediscovery. Now coming to another term which I use, magic bullet. And I will try to connect both the things together. This is Paul Ehrlich. He was a friend of Koch, Robert Koch, Koch's postulate. You would have heard his story. His second wife, on his birthday, a noble lady gave him a microscope as a birthday gift, and along with his friend Nizil, they started staining, etc., etc. I will not go to the history. So, magic bullet, Paul Ehrlich coined the term. How did he coin the term? In 1907, Paul Ehrlich, while working at the Institute of Experimental Therapy, formed an idea that it could be possible to kill specific microbes such as bacteria, which cause disease in the body without harming the body itself. He named the hypothetical agent as Soberkugel and used the English translation magic bullet. So which was the first magic bullet? Salvarsan, or saving arsenic, saving the first effective drug for syphilis in 1909 is termed as the first magic bullet, not in psychiatry, first magic bullet. Salvarsan was commercially introduced in 1910, and in 1913, a less toxic form, neosalvarsan, was released in the market. Then came the malaria inoculation. Wagner Jorek endeavored to cure mental disease by inducing a fever. So malaria inoculation was suggested in 1970, which proved to be very successful in the case of dementia paralytica. And Wagner Jorok got Nobel Prize for this discovery in 1927. By this time, people were thinking of aniline dye, then how to make antihistaminics and antihelminthics. Aniline dye, people were trying how to produce antihistaminics and antihelminthics. 1937, Daniel Bowen discovered the first antihistaminic agent, thiamethyl diethylamine. In 1942, Bernard and Halpern, fenbenzamine or andergan was discovered and synthesized. 1946, thiamethyl diethylamine or Benadryl, what we use, it was synthesized by George Riesfeld. Now, antihistaminics got into the fray, and especially for antihelminthic property or sedation. Paul Charpentier at the pharmaceutical division of French company René Paulin in Vitry-sur-Seine in 1944 focused on phenothiazine compounds with better antihelminthic property and synthesized promethazine. Promethazine was also available in India in the brand name Sparin, S-P-A-R-I-N-E. But that is the only phenothiazine which doesn't have any antipsychotic property. That is promethazine. In 1945, the pronounced antihistaminic property of promethazine was identified. Then comes the artificial hibernation in psychiatry by Henry Laborie. He was born in Vietnam. It was a French colony of Indochina. He was born in 1914, educated at Carnot University in Paris and at Naval Health Service in Bordeaux. He was a neurosurgeon in the French Navy who was then stationed in Morocco and who was looking for an agent to add to the cocktail of drugs that he administered to patients before anesthesia. The history says he was traveling. At that time, he got a telephone call from Pierre Huguenot, and for a better artificial hibernation, for better what you call anesthetic properties for surgical patients. So Pierre Huguenot, professor of medicine and anesthetist and French scientist, born in Belfort, used promethazine together with pethidine as part of lytic cocktail to induce relaxation and indifference in surgical patients. Henry Laborie believed the compound stabilized the central nervous system by causing artificial hibernation and described the state as sedation without narcosis. In December 1950, Paul Charpentier at the pharmaceutical division of French company Ronepolac synthesized RP4560, adding a chlorine atom into one of the rings of promethazine that was chlorpromazine. Simon Courvoisier, she did the initial animal experiments of this drug RP4560 because this adding a chlorine atom into one of the rings of promethazine. Henry Laborie, Huguenot, and Allume, they trial the medicine, that is, this medicine synthesized by Charpentier at Val-de-Grâce Military Hospital. This is the Val-de-Grâce Military Hospital in Paris, using it as an anesthetic booster in intravenous dosage, IV dosage, 50 to 100 milligram. Earlier in my MBBS days, a gynecologist used to give for eclampsia, chlorpromazine 50 IV. On surgery patient, confirming it as the best drug to date in calming and reducing shock. This was published in 52 in La Presse Médicale. This was that publication, but currently La Presse Médicale comes like this about CPZ as a new vegetative or autonomic stabilizer. Now this place, it is a hospital, good old hospital, at village of Mendel Hospital. This was the hospital. In November 1951, Laborie, Leon Chertok, and Marcel Mondasson administered an intravenous dose to a female psychiatrist, Cornelia Quarti, who was acting as a volunteer. She agreed. Why don't you try on me? Quarti noted the indifference, but fainted upon getting up to go to the toilet, maybe hypotension. On January 1952, Joseph Hammond, Jean Pereire, and Jean Villous at the Val-de-Grâce Military Hospital in Paris administered the drug, this chlorpromazine, alongside pethidine, pentothal, and ECT to Jacques, ECT was given later, to Jacques Lay, a 25-year-old manic patient. And this was published in the 1952 a March issue of the Annals Medico-Psychology. This is still available. You have to use the Google Translator to read it. I usually read for the history, etc., etc. Clinical investigation with the chlorpromazine, that is a magic bullet in psychiatry. Started at St. Anne's Hospital since March 24, 1952 by Jean Delay and Pierre Deniker. But Deniker had a friend and he got a secret idea from the original investigators. They have used this trick. So he got the details, he got some samples, and he tried. He was his boss. Delay was his boss. He didn't do much, but he was the boss. And Deniker, along with Jean-Marie Hall and Andre Grasset, they were interns there. Along with them, they were working. But in your publication, you will not see Jean-Marie Hall and Andre Grasset. In one article, Jean-Marie Hall is there. Presented 6 clinical reports containing the result of CP-set chlorpromazine use in 38 patients. They used mania states of agitation, excitation, acute psychotic state, initially intravenously, later on tablet form. Case 1 was a lady, Gayavani, 57 years. It was on May 22, this was given. Case 2, June 26. Case 3, June 3rd, July. This was presented there. That is the date. 3 other reports were presented at the 50th French Conference on Psychiatry and Neurology held at Luxembourg. These were the publications on chlorpromazine in 52. As per the dates, you can go through the history, Francisco Lopez Buenas, there, all these details are there. I am not going to read. Now, chlorpromazine was released onto the market in 53, not as an antipsychotic initially. The company didn't want to put it as antipsychotic. They wanted anti-healthy, but later on, they did it. And given the trade name Largatil, derived from large, broad action, broad activity. Elkis and group, the first clinical trial was done. You can see this article in 54, effects of chlorpromazine on the behavior of chronically overactive psychotic patient, British Medical Journal. You may go through it. Then Jonathan called at the NIMH study group in 64. It was the first in a series of seminal multi-center collaborative studies this gentleman initiated at the Psychopharmacology Service Center. And the first international colloquium on the therapeutic uses of chlorpromazine in psychiatry was held at St. Anne's Hospital in Paris in October 1955. Around 400 speakers from 22 countries. Some people say it is a blotted up statement, but I believe it. Earlier it was called 13, but now it is so much. In the drug efficacy study implementation or DESI of the US FDA, in the years 68 to 72, the indication for chlorpromazine limited essential to only psychosis, meaning synonymous with mania or schizophrenia. Now coming to the words, some of the words we use, tranquilizer. Tranquilize originated around 1623, Old English Dictionary, and tranquil in 1666. The earliest citation of tranquil is in Shakespeare's Othello, farewell the tranquil mind, farewell content. Francie Bunny, also known as Fanny Bunny, and later Madame D. Arblay, was an English satirical novelist, diarist, and playwright. She wrote 4 novels, 8 plays, 1 biography, and 25 volumes of journals and letters. In the journals and letters on 79 to 1801, she was not a psychiatrist, she was a writer, satiric novelist writer. I find, however, useful employment the best tranquilizer, and have less of violent emotion which was hither taught. I mean, this was coined at that time tranquilizer. Sutcliffe, in 1824, I invited the attention of the medical world by introducing this herbaceous tranquilizer, that is ground ivy. However, in our psychiatric literature, you will see Frederick Youngman. He was the person who named it, but basically he hasn't named it. The Hofmeister and Still told that we attribute, because there was a conference held on reserpine and chlorpromazine. So Hofmeister and Still told, young man, you get the credit first naming of chlorpromazine and reserpine as tranquilizers. Then came the major and minor tranquilizers by Anne Caldwell. Then another term came into our psychiatric lexicon, atradactic. In 1955, in a paper published in JAMA, Howard Fabing and Alistair Cameron, was a professor of classics, proposed that chlorpromazine and similar drugs which produce ataraxia, absence of emotional upset, a condition imperturbability, be called ataraxics. The term ataractic is derived from the Greek adjective ataractos, that translates to English without confusion, cool and collected, and the Greek noun ataraxia, that translates to peace of mind or freedom from confusion. Then came the neuroleptic term. Neuroleptic, from leptic, that is affecting the neurons. Jean Delay and Pierre Deniker in January 55 addressed this term to describe the specific neuropharmacological effects of chlorpromazine at the Academy National de Medicine. And sooner than later, they described the neuroleptic malignant syndrome also. Atypical, then came the term antipsychotic, then atypical antipsychotic. In 61, Heinz Lehmann might have been the person who has used the term antipsychotic. Atypical antipsychotic would have been coined by 71 by Gunther Stille and Hans Hippius. This is Hans Hippius. Heinz Edgar Lehmann was a German-born Canadian psychiatrist, best known for his use of chlorpromazine for the treatment of schizophrenia in 50s. In 56, he was telling, I'm quoting him, when I was addressing the Canadian Medical Association, I introduced the term antipsychotic apologetically and more as a metaphor than a designation, but it came to stay. Now the timeline, chlorpromazine 50s, then haloperidol, trifluoperazine, perfenazine, thioresin, fluphenazine, thiothixin, sulpiride in 60s, Pimoside, molindone, flupentixol, penfluridone, thiapride, 70s, loxapine, amisulpride, and clozapine, 80s. Again, rediscovery of clozapine, 90s, risperidone, olanzapine, quetiapine, ciprasidone, 2000, aripiprazole, asinapine, iloperidone, blonanserin, paliperidone, and lurasidone. 2015, cariprazine and brexpiprazole. 2019 December lumateperone, and 2021 drugs in pipeline. June 2021 olanzapine samidorphan combination, and September 2021 6 months injection form of the long-acting atypical antipsychotic paliperidone. palmitate in Vega, Haifa. So it is a funny path of discovery. Anopheles mosquito, Syngona bark, Pelagiaris, Perkins lab, methylene blue, Caro, antihistaminics, Robert Koch. Here is Paul Ulrich and Wagner, that novel rate on malaria therapy, Laborit, your Carpenter, who synthesized promethazine and chlorpromazine, Delay and Deniker did studies. Hinsman, he talked about antipsychotic, and Hippias, and basically Hippias, Tilly and Hippias. Hippias is the name of the photo, termed atypical antipsychotic. The story ends here now. That men do not learn very much from the lessons of the history. History is the most important of all lessons of history. That men do not learn very much from the lessons of history is the most important of all the lessons of history. Now, thank you very much for listening to the story, and I have to thank you all and thank Mosquito, Anopheles Mosquito, and thank chlorpromazine for the magic bullet who revolutionized the psychopharmacology. Thank you very much.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for taking us on the journey.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Over to chairpersons. I think they're in the office bearers meeting today.
So, Tufan Badi, you yourself and Amar can conduct it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Mohandas, for a lucid journey starting from Anopheles till death. A journey in the back of Anopheles mosquito. A journey of the development of the neuroleptics. Journey of the development of our trial to fight psychotic disorders. And before we go in for the final comments, I note many jewels of Indian psychiatry are there in addition to Dr. Mohandas. I will take comments from them. Dr. Ajit Fide, Dr. Harish Chandra Gambhira is also there. May I ask Dr. Gambhira to have his comments, please? You can unmute.
I think today we will not have any questions, so we can have comments and then maybe.
Yes, discussion or comments only. Your appreciation.
Yeah.
Dr. Gambhira, am I audible?
I think Dr. Sidana is there.
Yeah, Dr. Sidana is also there.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
It's always interesting to listen to Dr. E. Mohandas, who comes with the real facts and the evidence for various aspects in psychiatry, especially the biological psychiatry. And today, it's been very interesting to travel with him through the past and present of psychiatry, and also look at the future molecules which are going to come. And it's really very interesting and thought-provoking for us. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations musings for bringing an offbeat presentation and offbeat topic.
Thank you, Dr. Sidana. Dr. Vide, sir.
Thank you, Tufan. And thank you, Mohan. It's always a treat to listen to you, and each time you're up with something quite new. Thank you for taking us through this journey, and especially being the person I am, I enjoyed the etymological journey that we have had. How did we come to these terms? It was such a bafflement when we were undergraduates to know what is a tranquilizer, what is a major tranquilizer, what is a minor tranquilizer. And one of the greatest things that has happened is we've abandoned those terms. Thank you also for paying due respect to Heinz Lehmann. I remember Heinz Lehmann was the guy who wrote the chapters on psychopharmacology in the first and second editions of the comprehensive textbook of psychiatry. And he brought a lot of lucidity. He may have, as he mentions, quite accidentally or unwittingly brought in the term antipsychotic into our vocabulary, but I think it's a signal contribution of his to introduce the term which is going to last with us, that is antipsychotic. I missed the mosquito part of the story, I'm sorry, but I'm sure that I'll catch up with it on the YouTube in due course of time. And thank you for this wonderful treat all over again. Roop Sudhana mentioned that it's always a treat to listen to Mohan. It's always great to listen to Mohan about psychiatry in general and biological psychiatry in particular. I will also say that I have heard Mohan at various fora bring up the issue of so-called academic psychiatrists and private practitioners, and he's always held up the flag for private practitioners, of which he is a leading light. So to be academically sound and to be up on knowledge, he is a real role model. When you don't belong to an academic institution also, you can pursue a subject to its greatest depth. Thank you, Mohan, once again for a wonderful treat. And thank you, Tofan, Aleem, and Amrit for carrying on this program through all these 75 episodes. More luck to you, more power to you. Thanks.
Thank you, Ajit.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Gambhira is here. Sir,
Yes.
can you unmute and contribute here, please?
Dr. Harris, please.
Sir, you have to unmute yourself. Dr. Harish Chandra.
Yes.
Yes, sir, we can hear you now.
Yes,
Harish, you need to
Harish.
unmute.
Mohandas sir, in the meantime, there is a question in the chat box. What's
Yes.
the relevance of the new olanzapine drug combination seeking approval?
I will not answer that question. That will be in my another. That was one of my talks for the WPA last month. That was the newer drugs, antipsychotics in pipeline. I was talking with the current CANP president. So if you want, I can send you the slides. I can offhand talk. What are the antipsychotics in pipeline for the coming 2-3 years? Everything I do have. I mean, this topic, I don't think that I must be talking. Basically, but to reduce the weight gain, etc., there are so many other molecules coming, palm and others. I will not discuss here. That is another topic by itself. That is a half-an-hour talk by itself, which I talked in WPA. I mean,
Sure.
last month.
Yes,
Sure, sir.
Dr. Harris. Dr. Harris, please unmute and have your comments.
He's still not, he's still mute. Please unmute, man. Harish. You don't know how to unmute?
Aleem, can I ask one question in the meanwhile?
Sure, sir.
From chlorpromazine, I thought, Mohan, we went a little speedily. Also, you've always been respectful of the time given to you. What about haloperidol? I mean, such a significant move forward. The discoverers of haloperidol and the fact that it became the gold standard for comparing, remains a gold standard for comparing antipsychotic effects. Could you dilate a little on that?
Yeah, that is another story. It was in the same lab, haloperidol. After that 5 years, your pimoside and your tanserin, which became risperidone later, That was another story in the lab. Another time I will talk on all this. I do have the complete history of all antipsychotics. Whether reserpine, I can talk for half an hour to 1 hour. Antidepressants, all antipsychotics, antidepressant,
No, just
anticonvulsants.
for now, just haloperidol.
No, that's what I'm telling you. That is another story. This is the magic bullet. Haloperidol is not called a magic bullet in psychiatry. So I will concentrate only on
Clopramazine.
this thing.
So there's a question in the chat box from Dr. Vaji Satyanarayana. Cinchona bark was used in China for malaria since 2000 BC. Is it true or is it not correct?
I have already talked about cinchona bark, which was used. It was not called cinchona bark at that time. That I have put, I don't know whether he has seen the initial slides. In the initial slides, I have told in the very early Chinese history, almost like our the thing that writings are there regarding these type of herbal remedies. Earlier, it was called as the fever bark or Jesus bark. Chinese language, what was used, I don't know. But I have already put a slide for that. If you want, I can show that thing also. But that time it was not called Cinchona. It was the same tree, but it was not called Cinchona. It was named later. Okay. It was used many places. That was, the bark was used for mainly fevers.
Okay, sir, this antipsychotic term, the term antipsychotic, should it be retired now?
It is a very good idea whether we have to even forget about the term schizophrenia. I think I was a discussant also 8 years back on that regarding. Similarly, antipsychotic, what is the better term? It is only an antipsychotic. It can be used in mania, it can be used in schizophrenia, etc. Then this question was raised long back in American psychiatrists. They told that, why do you want to use antipsychotic? Why not anti-schizophrenic? Then this type of question came. It is also useful in mania, many psychotic conditions. In many patients who do not improve with even your atypical antipsychotic, a small dose of chlorpromazine, it may be beneficial. So still the term antipsychotic is held upon. We do not know whether somebody will change it later, but for the time it says.
Sure, sure. Anyone else wants to comment? Please raise your hand so that we can invite you to the stage.
Abir, you have got any comment to make? Abir?
Hello?
Yes, sir, we can hear you now.
Yeah, okay. I'll put the video on as well. No, actually, I joined a bit later, and as usual, as everyone has said, yeah, it's fascinating to hear the history of how how the drugs have developed, and also as Dr. Bide mentioned about the major tranquilizers and the minor tranquilizers, and when we were PGT students, this whole sort of this whole concept of naming and classifying the drugs used in antipsychotics. And I also agree with what Alim said in terms of we have to at some stage look into the issue of either renaming or reframing the term antipsychotics, because it has got a lot of pejorative consequences to it in terms of like why should when you prescribe a quetiapine or when you prescribe a low dose atypical for anxiety symptoms, so immediately the patients would Google nowadays and come back to us and say that, why have you prescribed me an antipsychotic? Am I psychotic? And people who are people who suffer from anxiety, I mean, if they Google and find out that you have prescribed an antipsychotic, then their anxiety can, rather than decreasing, it might increase manifold. So these are the classificatory, I mean, taking a leaf out of history, we have to look about, how to reclassify ourselves, reclassify the drugs and give it some other name so that, it has significance. Or maybe for a molecule like quetiapine, when 50 milligrams is used for sleep, 100 milligrams to 200 milligrams is used for depression, and higher doses is used for bipolar and schizophrenia. So, there has to be some kind of device whereby we can, reframe and rename the molecules. So this is my observation, or this is my, comment.
Yeah, that is a good suggestion. But olanzapine, atypical antipsychotics, they were also called putative mood stabilizers. Okay, so if we go to the total history, what happened? You take a molecule called lurasidone. It was used for as just like an antipsychotic, but it didn't have much efficacy across the border, and it is going for bipolar depression. Similarly, quetiapine, it was a mild antipsychotic, then suddenly shift over to bipolar depression. Lumateperone, the newer antipsychotics, you will see it will shift on to other conditions. Brexpiprazole, you will see more in bipolar. So you will get it, all this thing. Cariprazine, all these molecules, because of the multiple receptor connectivity. That is why a group you would have got along with many of my friends are there. Joseph Zohar
Yeah.
group. That is why the neuroscience-based nomenclature is coming up. We had umpteen discussion, and there's a group of 8-9 people. I tried to speak on that topic 2-3 places in India, and abroad it is catching up. There are refinements now. Hopefully, we might come with a receptor-based new way of classifying things. You are correct. We are still not there.
And for example, for primabenserine, it doesn't have any dopamine action whatsoever, but it's still an antipsychotic. So, those kind.
Yeah. Theoretically, if you say close up, it doesn't have much D2 action, but still, it's very good antipsychotic. Earlier, Ajit Bide still is there. I don't know. He wanted something on haloperidol. I will just talk Paul Janssen's lab. Initially, haloperidol was synthesized. Then within 3 to 5 years time, demosite came. But during that period itself, they have found out ritanserin, but they didn't want to pump it down. Later on, after some time, when they promoted haloperidol as a stereoselective agent initially for the popularity. Then after some time, when they wanted more money out of pharma revenue, then they launched Risperidone. Then those group told clozapine is a dirty drug and this is a wonderful drug. And initially they told doesn't produce much EPS, but even later on, the first supplement or Risperidone came in Canadian Journal itself. I had that copy. I don't know after the floods. I don't know whether it is on board. But I had that supplement on the Risperidone, the initial versions. But later on, Risperidone was talked by many people. Many of my friends talked very high of it. Then earlier it was called even up to 12 milligram, then gradually reduced. Now it is between 2 to 4 milligram. Okay, 6 was in between, then it has come down again. I will not go into the every evolution, and it might take so much time. because close-up story itself is also very funny. It was very funny. And it was used then as a hypnotic for a long time. And there was a rediscovery. There's also some, I mean, for most of the drugs, there is a game. Even if you take SSRIs, beautiful stories are there. And there were two individuals who were doing wars, I mean, verbal wars. And that communication is very interesting at that time. Very interesting. I do have the copies of those things. I usually keep the summary of those things. Anyway, it is fun, wonderful. So if I start talking about history, it will go on and go on. And so I will focus only on this.
Tufan Bhatti sir, your comments, please.
So it has been a nice journey. Before this, you remember we were moving by train with friends from one place to another. In this journey, we had a good storyteller, Dr. Mohandas, and journey was from Anopheles till date, and a little beyond. And it was very interesting. We met so many scientists, so many trees, and so many things in the way. A nice way of storytelling. Rightly said, storytelling is the best way of giving a lecture. Thank you, Mohandas. Thank you. I just expected that it will be this brilliant when I had my first discussion with you. Thank you a lot. And over to Amrit for the formal vote of thanks. Amrit, you are there? Amrit? May I make the formal vote of thanks? Again, I have just thanked Dr. Mohandas, my dear friend, old friend, for this erudite lecture, which was a nice storytelling and a nice journey down the lane of time. And we learned so many things in a nice, lucid way. We did. Yes, Amrit, please take over and for the formal vote of thanks.
Sorry. My video is, the network is a little problematic today. I'm in my clinic, so I could not. So thank you everybody, sir. 75th edition, when we started, one fine early morning at 8 o'clock, when we thought about Thursday musings, we never expected it will go to 75 editions. And the best part about the whole Thursday musings has been the freshness of the topics, the freshness of the speakers. We had lot, throughout the country, throughout the globe, we have had speakers, we have had brilliant chairpersons, and it is impossible. Somebody told me, why don't you apply to the Limca Book of Records for the longest running webinar? And I told Alim, let us do it. Let people understand that in the whole, the whole theme, we had a lot of criticisms, lot of people, encouraging us, lot of people telling us a lot of things, but we thought, no, we have thought about something, the intent is good. And I think we have managed to do what we wanted to do. So thank you everybody. Thank you to the speakers. Thank you to the people who have supported us. We have a great audience who are always tuned in. Torrent for supporting us, IPS OSB. And special thanks to Tufan sir and Alim actually. Tufan sir always plays the, the senior statesman. He never tries to interfere in everything. Wherever we need, he's always there. Alim for his, he is obsessive about the way it should be conducted. I just scout the talent. I'm the scouter. I just scout what should be the topic and who should be the speaker. And then Alim works on it. And we have also got a very good backroom staff, Sazia, Sharda and Ducha. And also a lot of people whom whenever we need, we call up, maybe people in Nimans, our friends throughout the country who have helped us. And we're grateful to them. And we hope that we reach 100 editions of this. So thank you everybody. Thank you Mohandas sir, Dr. Gautam sir, Dr. Raju, presidents, all big names. Today, Dr. Bhide was there. So we are all delighted and extremely pleased and grateful for all the support, love, and whatever you have done. So thank you, Thursday Musings. Wish you a wonderful year, and I hope we get better inputs, better speakers, and better themes. Thank you so much, sir. Good night.
Thank you, Mohandas.
Thank you, Amrit.
Okay, thank
Thank you so much, sir.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Thank you very much. Okay, see you.
So, sir, with your request, I'll close the meeting.
Sure,
Yeah,
please
yeah,
do.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, you can close the meeting.